Today, I'm going to show you a game played between the great attackers and the chessboard. So these players are both legendary and respected because of their plays. So this game happens when a master attacker meets the world champion. So this game is very sharp and beautiful that a lot of creators and chess players studied this game very well. So a quick info between the two players in the game. So this game is played between Rashid Nezhmetdinov and Mikhail Tal and the USSR Championship of 1961. So Rashid Nezhmetdinov is a fierce tactician who never cares about material. On the other hand, Mikhail Tal is a former world champion with a moniker magician from Riga. He is famous for his daring sacrifices and attacks. So without further ado, let's get started and analyze the game. So the game started with e4, c5, the Sicilian defense, knight to f3, d6, d4, c6, d4, knight c4, knight f6, knight c3, the open Sicilian, and e6. So now, Mikhail Tal as black played the Scheveningen variation of the Sicilian. So this position or this opening is played to create solidity on black's position against any setup created by white, and hopefully developing its pieces and play tactically somewhere in the game after the development is done. So bishop e2, a6 to prevent any plays on b5, so blacks prevent it, and white castles, queen to7, and f4. So now, this is the most typical setup or move in this position. White wants to attack on the king side with f4, f5, g4, g5, and the well-known pawn storm will be seen at the board. So that is the typical idea here in the white's setup. So black continues his development, or Mikhail Tal develops his knight on b7 and g4. So according to computer or other books that I've read before, that a4 is the best move here because it prevents b5 and it clamps down the play the play of black on the queen side. So that is the idea behind this move a4. But Rashid Nezhmetdinov wanted an attack very fast, but it looks like premature. g4, somehow it creates weaknesses on the king side by white, but it also creates some plays on the king side. b5, so now black placed b7 to b5 freely without constraints by a4 by white, and a3. Now this move is bad because there is a direct plan. The plan that I've said is to move g5. The plan behind here is to put black pieces into its starting position and attack freely without any counterplay by black, because after g5, knight g8 is a blunder because it looks so passive and great attacks may arise. So the best move here is to play b4 to counter attack. However, g5 isn't played by Rashid. He plays a3 to stop b4 and somehow continue g5 in the future. Bishop d7, Mikhail Tal continues to develop his pieces. Bishop to f3, knight to c5, another mistake, because h6 is the best move to prevent g5, but Mikhail Tal also knows that if he maintains to play passively or defensively, he will get into the inferior position. So he wanted to counter-attack. Knight c5 is also pressuring the a4 pawn here with 3 attacks by black. However, Rashid only defended it with queen e2 and also developing his queen. e5. So the idea behind e5 is to stop some play by white of e5. If black didn't play e5, white will play it. So black prevents it now. So knight e5. So the idea behind knight e5 is to infiltrate in the position of black. So it prevents bishop to e7, and well, it stops the development of the kingside pieces by black. However, very good move here is to play knight d5 to not only centralizing the knight, but after take and take, white will win a pawn after castle. Knight to c6. Look at that pawn on c6. Very strong, and well, this should be winning for white. But Rashid didn't play that. He plays f5 to infiltrate the black's position. g6. Black wanted to kick away the beautiful knight on f5, but Rashid didn't retreat his knight, but he offers it to create a counter-attack on the f6 knight. So it is an equal trade. D takes e5, because what? White, if black takes on f5, white will only take on f6 with, equal trade. Then takes and knight to h6. Now, as you can see, until the very end of the game, this knight on h6 will not retreat anymore, but it only helps white to create some nasty attacks and great plays. Because of this knight on h6, it infiltrates the position of black. So knight to e6. Mikhail Tal retreated his knight to create some defenses on his position. But as you can see, the development of black pieces is very slow. As you can see, the position of Rashid, he develops his pieces, infiltrates in the position of black, and black cannot take on h6. He can take on h6, but it only helps white. So there is an imbalance between the position, the development of Rashid versus the slow development of Tal. So bishop g2 attacking f6, opening up some lines for the rook. Bishop to g7. It's a bad move because, according to my note on this e6 for defensive resources, the purpose of that is to play to f4 to somehow prevent the attack of this wonderfully placed rook by white on this f file. So to play knight to f4, but Tal missed it and plays bishop d7 instead, and now rook takes f6, though not an accurate one, but somehow it attacks the psychological part of Mikhail Tal. So Rashid applies Tal's psychology in most of his games. But now Rashid used it against Tal. So he takes the rook, or he takes the knight with the rook to simply force Tal to create unuseful moves and Rashid use it to gain tempo to attack those bad moves by black. So rook takes f6, bishop takes f6 is forced, and now white creates a tempo attack on bishop by playing knight to d5. It doesn't only attack the bishop, it also attacks the queen on c7. So black defends the f6 bishop with queen d8, but another tempo with queen f2. As you can see, Rashid's initiative is very strong, that he only plays his pieces with almost every threat. So queen f2, another attack on f6, knight to f4. So to somehow defend his position, but when you're attacking, you should open lines and open files for your pieces. So bishop takes f6, or bishop takes f4 rather. It's a great move. Look at that knight. As you can see, that knight came from b8, it jumps to d7, to c5, to e6, then to f4. A lot of moves have been played that is unuseful, and now it only goes to f4, then taken by this undeveloped piece by Tal. So very unequal. So pawn takes and e5. So Rashid wanted to sacrifice a pawn just to open the file towards the king that is trapped in the center. So now Tal takes the pawn because it's free, but a lot of poison or venom were put into that pawn. So rook to a1, the last remaining undeveloped piece by white, is now developed and creates some nasty threats. So f6. Now black should take on d5, but he didn't, because if you take on d5, you clear some pieces that creates an attack to your king. However, and also it is a principle, when you're defending a very difficult position, you should eliminate those very active pieces that helps the attack of your opponent. But somehow Tal didn't realize it, because he is not really a defender. He didn't want to defend so much in his games, because he is the one who controls the game. But now he is the one defending, because Rashid Nezhmetdinov also knows his theory. So rook to e1, f6. Now the f6 pawn is overloaded, and Tal creates chaos with or Rashid creates chaos against Tal's king in the center. Knight takes f6, queen takes f6, then queen to d4, attacking the bishop on e5, king to f8, rook takes e5, and queen to d8. As you can see, a lot of pieces by white is positioned very well. The knight on h6, that I've said before will not go out there anymore, and it creates some nasty infiltration on black's camp. The queen and rook combo by white is also great, and as you can see, the position of black's pieces, especially the rooks and his king, is now on the verge of a very bad position. So, to those players who wanted to play very well, they should develop first their pieces and yeah, castle early. Rook to f5, a very good move. It doesn't only checks the king by black, but it is also very helpful for the infiltration of many pieces. Not many, but the great pieces of white. So rook to f5 also opens up this diagonal to somehow gain the pieces that is sacrificed and expose largely the king of black. So pawn takes, king takes, king to e7, a force move, queen to g7, another king e6, and after pawn takes, black resigned the game, or Mikhail Tal resigned the game, because mate in 4 or mate is inevitable. Not mate e4, but rather e4 on f7. So that is not played anymore at elite level chess, because that is very losing. So Tal resigned here. So this game is very great to those players who wanted to master their attacks. And yeah, a game where the importance of initiative, speed, and fearless attacking beat titles and calculation. Though initiative is temporary, but while it lasts, it's stronger than a queen. As Rashid puts it here, that not only a queen, but most of his pieces has been sacrificed and put onto the most dangerous squares, but also the good squares, to create some nasty attacks. So initiative is very great if you know it very well. So please study Nezhmetdinov games, not just openings, because attacking patterns like that last forever than memorized theories. So thank you everyone, and see you soon to another video.